A reading from the Book of Wisdom. Resplendent and unfading is wisdom, and she is readily perceived by those who love her, and found by those who seek her. She hastens to make herself known in anticipation of their desire. Whoever watches for her at dawn shall not be disappointed, for he shall find her sitting by his gate. For taking thought of wisdom is the perfection of prudence, and whoever for her sake keeps vigil shall quickly be free from care. Because she makes her own rounds, seeking those worthy of her, and graciously appears to them in the ways, and meets them with all solicitude. The word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. Wisdom is found by those who seek her. Our lives can become monotonous. Day after day, same old, same old. And we can get so caught up in the routine that we forget where we're going, what we're longing for, what we seek. Wisdom is readily perceived by those who love her, and found by those who seek her. So what is this wisdom that we're supposed to center our lives on and seek? Well, the scriptures tell us that wisdom knows God, knows the very mind of God. It was there from the beginning and witnessed creation. So it sees God's hand at work in the world around us. But what's more, wisdom makes known to us the mind of God, helps us to see the hand of God working in the world around us. The Book of Wisdom tells us that she is instructress in the understanding of God. It is that understanding of God that King Solomon prayed for when God offered him anything he wanted. And for this he was known as the great wisdom figure of the Old Testament. Now unfortunately King Solomon, as we know, fell away from that wisdom. So perhaps we can look to the New Testament for some more refreshing insights. And it's in the New Testament that Jesus Christ is revealed as wisdom incarnate. Wisdom incarnate. Now this shouldn't come as a surprise to us. In a little over a month, we'll be praying the O antiphons. And we'll say of Jesus, O come thou wisdom from on high. Jesus is that wisdom that is with the Father, who knows God and makes Him known to us by dwelling among us. Therefore, to love and to seek wisdom is to love and to seek Jesus Christ. And it is with that understanding that we can find a redeemed version of King Solomon's story in our own beloved St. Thomas Aquinas, who presented his writings on the Eucharist to Jesus for judgment, to see whether what he was writing made any sense. And Jesus says to him, "You have written well of me, Thomas. What do you seek as your reward?" And Thomas replied, "Non nicite, Domine. Non nicite. Nothing but you, Lord. Nothing but you. Not comforts, not fame, not riches, not intellectual brilliance, not getting thousands and thousands of hits on the YouTube version of their Vespers preaching. No, not even earthly love, the love of family and friends. Nothing but you, Lord." Now Thomas is clearly a man desperately in love. But we would do ourselves a disfavor if we dismissed him as just this great mystic that we're not called to be like. No, all of us as Christians have that same calling to love God with an undivided heart. And we in particular, my dear Dominican brothers, should find that this story of Thomas resonates with us. Because at our own professions we were asked, "Brothers, what do you seek?" So what did we seek when we came here? Why did we join religious life? Why are we here? Well, I suspect that like Thomas, we too were desperately in love with Jesus Christ. Now I know that at times we fall away from that love, And it becomes difficult. It seems like it's an uphill battle to love God. And it's at those times, I think, that we can look to the second half of this reading, which says that wisdom makes her own rounds, seeking those worthy of her. As much as we think we're seeking God, it's God who's really seeking us all the more. As much as Thomas loved Jesus, Jesus loved Thomas infinitely more. And we can see that most especially in the Blessed Sacrament, here in our lives, where Jesus, the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords, comes to dwell among us. And we see ultimate vulnerability. I've often thought that in a relationship, and the women in the crowd are going to disagree with me, the guy has the harder role in getting the relationship started, because he has to make himself completely vulnerable. He has to lay himself out there and either be accepted or rejected. Well, Jesus is the vulnerable one in this relationship. He has completely laid himself out there. He's told us that he loves us, and now he waits. He waits here in the Blessed Sacrament, waiting for us to finally decide to spend some time with him. That's all he asks, and yet we find so many excuses to not be here with ultimate love. And if only we realized how much it is that he is seeking and loving us, maybe we'd realize that this isn't an uphill battle. That really, if we want to return to that first fervor, all we have to do is stop running away. Let go, surrender, and be overcome with wisdom, with Jesus Christ himself. And what happens when that wisdom overcomes us, possesses us? Well, the Book of Wisdom tells us that passing into holy souls from age to age, she produces friends of God and prophets. Friends of God and prophets. Now, friends of God we've been talking about, getting to know God himself. But I would say that being prophets, being preachers for us, is inextricably linked to coming to know God. And what's that link? That link, of course, is love. If we have truly come to know God, and his love resides within us, then preaching can't be contained. It'll simply overflow. We'll boil over with the word. Furthermore, it won't be just out of love for God, but out of a genuine love for neighbor that we will preach. Because what we have to offer is that greatest good. We too will be convinced that the gospel is the greatest blessing that we can offer someone. And therefore, if we truly love them, we will want to share that with them. We can have no other motivations, brothers and sisters. We cannot do it out of individual motives, out of selfish pride. Because in the end, when we reach the pearly gates, it won't be about how many souls we converted, or how many degrees we had, or how many people listened to our preaching. No, I suspect that last judgment will really be a question. My child, what do you seek? May our lives proclaim at that moment, nothing but you, Lord. Non nisi te.